So last year I got something very special delivered at my place. Now I had never tried kunafa before, so of course I was super excited, but I couldn't eat it right away because this wasn't just dessert. It was a project. They had actually sent it to me as a reference so I could create miniature clay replicas for their store employees. So instead of eating it, I spent the whole day dissecting it. And yes, I did eventually eat it and it was absolutely delicious. Now, coming to the clay part, I made three different kinds of kunafa. One had rope threads for the vermicelli effect, the second had vermicelli made entirely out of clay, and the third had glossy maple syrup finishing on top. In the second round, I worked on getting the colors right, and the third round came super close to perfect, but not quite there yet. Alright, starting the project, I usually take a tile as my base and clean it with rubbing alcohol. Every single tool, every surface, everything gets wiped down because I can't afford even a single speck of dust. You know, the irony of working with clay is it's the messiest medium ever, but you have to make it in the cleanest environment possible. I know, right? I'm using Fimo clay here, but oh my god, it was so hard. It was difficult. I had to condition it forever. My fingers were literally dying by the end of it. If you are into clay full time, by the way, please invest in a conditioning machine. It'll save your thumbs and your sanity. Once the clay was soft enough, I started rolling small rounds into shape. Back then, I didn't have fancy cutters or molds, so I made my own out of aluminium sheets, cut by hand to the exact batch size the client wanted. I cut out 6 pieces here, and my first batch of bases was ready. Now came the hardest part, the texture. The Kunafa texture is everything. I had Studio Ghibli movies playing in the background just to survive the monotony of making these tiny vermicelli lines over and over again. But when it came to the actual texture detailing, I had to go in full hyper focus mode. After a lot of trial and error, I figured out the trick. Condition the clay a little extra, stretch it like cheese threads. And make small jalebi like swirls on the base to get that perfect realistic look. Look at that. The texture turned out so detailed. And honestly, this base alone took the most time, but it made all the difference in the end. You'll get to know. Next came the coloring part. I used chalk pastels here, mixing orange and yellow to get that perfect baked, slightly burnt kunafa look. People usually think brown is the color for baked items, but when you're actually coloring with clay, in my opinion, brown looks very dull, but orange kind of brings the entire piece to life. Then I added the little pistachio crumbs in the center, tiny, delicate, and super satisfying to place. Once the bases were ready, I baked them at the right temperature to make sure they were durable. And I kid you not, some of them actually fell from the second floor while drying. And it didn't break at all. Well, honestly, it was a proud moment for me. I mean, anyways, after baking, look how golden and crispy they look. That's how sturdy it turned out, even with that delicate vermicelli detailing. So the client wanted safety pin style backing since they were using it for employee badges. Normally I use butterfly or eye pins, but this was perfect, I guess. Practical, secure, and long lasting on uniform, especially. Moving on to the next step, the most toxic part, UV resin. Well, I used it for two things over here. One, to give that glossy buttery shine, and the second one was to mimic the maple syrup drizzle. That's how usually kunafas are served actually. Here is a side by side comparison between the UV resin buttery shine, and on the right you can see the matte piece without any resin. I tinted the resin slightly yellow to give that proper maple syrup kind of effect, added a few saffron strands, and brushed it on very carefully. It instantly transformed the look, and this part was honestly the most rewarding. Once done, I cured them under the UV light, then gave them a good sun bath the next morning so to be extra sure everything hardened perfectly. Look at them. They are sunbathing and looking so gorgeous. I even made one extra just in case, but they all turned out perfect. So I just kept one for myself as a reference. For my first commission project, this was such a confidence boost. Like I actually did this. And of course, I had to add a bit of branding. So I made custom backings for each batch. Even though it wasn't asked for, it just felt right. I mean, after all, presentation is very important. And yes, the client absolutely loved it. In fact, they gave me another project right after this. But that's a story for another video. Until then, enjoy these delicious clay kunafas, and I'll see you in the next video.